Phil.
Okay, ready? All right.
Rolling.
Okay, welcome back to Our Corner. Okay, we're going to have a fantastic episode this week. We're going to be dealing with health, dynamics between black men and black women, but we're going to start with health. All right, I'm going to, any random topics will jump in as well for the people around us. So we're going to start with black health, very important, and it's a challenge that we have to look into. I think for me, I was looking at the NHS of when they're breaking down high blood pressure, right? And they were saying the elements that might affect blood pressure. And towards the bottom of the list, it said living in a poor environment or being black. So it's interesting that on the list in the NHS of what might give you high blood pressure is your biological birth and your financial economical income. And as we know, unfortunately, that's quite synonymous with many black people, right? So if for those who know what blood pressure is, basically your blood is give you high pressure more than normal. And what happens, the reason why it's they call it the silent killer, is it goes on for such a long time that if it goes on for a long time, after a certain amount of time, you could have a heart attack or a stroke and these kind of things, right? So they want you to get tested, and they give you like a blood test machine where you can test yourself, right? It costs £20 from any kind of chemist. And you can test yourself, put it on your arm, press a button, it tells you, here's your blood pressure, and it gives you 3 results. Now, what they say, if you want to have a low blood pressure, you want to be exercising. I think they said 3 hours a week. Brothers and sisters, so exercising 3 hours a week is important, right? But also lowering your salt intake. So what happened historically is we naturally will eat more green vegetable stuff, and that gave us what they call potassium. And then you're meant to have high potassium, low salt. But because we're consuming so many what they call processed food, canned food, and heavily salted food from takeaways, that our salt intake is so much higher that it's pushing our blood pressure. And this is what is contributing to many, unfortunately, African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, and African people. And it's something that we need to really focus on it, really. And it seems, it's quite problematic. So we want to go for a step-by-step guide of how to improve, what kind of things to eat, and the challenges of sticking with them. Maybe, right? Yeah, because it's quite challenging.
It's a good way to go. It's a good way
yeah,
to go.
all right. So the thing is, what are the easy wins? Like, what can you change? So if you're having canned food, we know in order to preserve the cans, they put salt in the can, right? So what I would say is if you can, like, beans, peas, these kind of things, either get frozen ones or soak them from the dry ones overnight. Some beans you have to soak for 5 to 12 hours, they'll tell you, right? That way you've already lowered the salt, because what happens in those preservative cans, it's already soaked up much of the salt in the actual beans itself. If you're going to use canned beans, if you're going to, rinse them off. Try to rinse them in a fizz, whatever, and get the salt off if you can. This can help. Eating actual vegetables. So you know what, you might buy actual vegetables, right? So if you're going to make a sauce, rather than buy a pre-made one that costs $4.99 from a non-black vendor store, what you could do is buy from a black store actual ingredients. So turn the back, read it. It says it has tomatoes, it has celery and carrots. Buy those ingredients and grind it in yourself. Don't add salt. And there's your actual sauce. You can add salt. Sea salt is the best salt, but all salt is the same, because basically your insides doesn't discriminate against salt. It just says we need this much to operate, and you might go over it. Although if you're gonna have salt, have the best quality salt. Just like if you're gonna have an apple, have the best quality apple, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What is the impact that salt has on the body, and particularly in relation to blood pressure?
Well, it makes your body work much faster.
Right.
Yeah, because I think they said historically from people, we were naturally taking greens, right? So we naturally got potassium, and I think they say your body is a balance of potassium and salt, and it's meant to be something like that. But I think for some people, if you're having more processed processed food and takeaways, it's something like that. And if we definitely you want to be having your fiber there. You want to be having your apples, your pears, your carrots, and all that type of stuff. You want to be having that. We're going to move on to sugar in a bit, but we'll stay on salt because the two things are killers.
I'll ask you a question though.
Go ahead.
On your personal experiences, how would you say you would tackle it with that situation?
So me personally, here's what I do, right? In the morning, here's my eating routine. I just have celery, raw carrots, tahini, a homemade hummus, and then a citrus fruit like grapefruit and a random fruit like a banana or something like this, right?
No sugar.
I don't add no sugar. There's no sugar, yeah. Certain things, even like, and obviously, if you're training because finger food is fuel, right? So I guess you probably could eat junk if you're burning it off, but unfortunately, we're not burning it off, right? So it's staying in our gut and it's accumulating. So what you want to do is you want to be eating healthy, training, drinking 2 liters of water a day, and obviously again, sleep is. We used to do this kind of speakers corner and late night debate, right? And we used to go through the night. Sleep is the most important thing you can have. So you want to make sure you're sleeping, getting your minimum from 7 to 9 hours, I think they say a day. Very important. When you train, you sleep, you eat whole food vegetable diets, and you don't add salt and sugar, then all this working in unison, you start feeling and looking more healthier. But it's easier said than done, isn't it? Because if it was, if it'll be easy. If we were just saying it could do it, we'll do it, but we don't. So it's the process, isn't it? What I'm trying to do is I've got like a blood monitor where I can actually monitor my blood pressure, right? And once you're eating a certain thing and you've got something how you want it to be, which is balanced and healthy, then you might be able to have cheeky ones. So you live religiously for your diet, and then when you know you're in a good place, maybe once a Sunday, every other weekend Sunday, you have a cheeky weekend where you have some kind of processed food or whatever, right? I don't know.
Yeah. But I was going to ask you, right? Where would you say your cut-off point of eating to when you sleep?
Well, this is the thing. Some people, some people they see food as fuel. So unless they're going to do an activity, they don't really eat. So some people go from 3 to 2 meals a day, depending because of what activities they're doing. I think you want to be winding down before you go to bed, right? So people start taking certain kind of like chamomile tea and these kind of teas that send you to sleep, right? So your brain ain't rushing around as you're trying to focus on sleeping. Cut-off point, I don't know, some people say don't eat 2 hours before you go to bed, something I don't know.
I tend to try to not eat after 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, let's say that cut-off point is 8 o'clock, then what time do you recommend someone to actually sleep?
Well,
because if the digestive says it takes about 3 to 4 hours to digest. So if you're eating foods and then going to sleep, let's say within 9:30, 10 o'clock, would that be suitable?
Well, it's all relevant to when you're meant to be waking up, right? Okay. So if some people they have to work, right? And they have to be up by 7 and out the house by 8 or 9. So that means you need to time it so you're in bed to give it at least 7 hours, but also enough to wash and eat and leave, whatever, right? So you have to do the maths. You have to be 7 hours. You have to be working at a certain time. You need to give yourself that enough time to rest. If you have the luxury of being able to wake up later, so be it, right? But not all of us have. Most of us don't.
Yeah, and that's what
The thing is, because I know there's a relationship between salt intake and moisture, like in the body, as I understand it. I don't know if you're aware of this thing, but one of the reasons why people have to be drinking a lot of water sometimes because the salt intake is not allowing the moisture to do its thing in the body, so the body's very dry, dehydrated. A lot of times as well. And often they say that when you feel tired, you're not actually tired. You're just lacking H2O, water. Yeah, you're dehydrated. You're not properly hydrated.
There's a 20%. So we're going to talk about diabetes and blood pressure, right?
Right.
But let's talk. But from the salt standpoint, what the brother said, right? Yeah. You can buy a £20 a blood pressure tester, right? Yeah. And you test yourself in the morning or at 6 o'clock, or for it's up to you, and it'll tell you. It'll say, "Here's your blood pressure." Right. Now there's a chart, and I think they say if you're like they want to get your pressure at below 120. Below 120, it's 3 degrees, but it's below 120. If you're above that, then there's a concern. So when you test yourself, when you hit 40 in this kind of age, if you're part of the NHS, they have you go and check yourself out, right? But you want to check yourself out before if you're black, right? If you've gone past that 120, then you want to start desperately thinking about exercising more and lowering your salt intake. If it's not
120, average resting heart rate.
No, so the heart rate is different. So you get 3 results, and my mind's not there at the moment, so I can't tell you how to break it down. But there's your heart rate, but then there's the first. I wrote it down, so I'll check in a bit, right? But the first result you get, that number they want it at lower than 120, and if you're above 160, then they're saying they want to put you on medication. Now I would prefer people not to go on medication because unless there's something desperately wrong, you can actually beat these kind of issues by diet. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, this is the point, right? When you go to doctors, they'll say, because a lot of doctors, they assume that because you've lived a certain way for so long, you ain't gonna change. So I'll just give you a tablet that's gonna heighten your potassium and thin your blood, because that's what they're trying to do. Thin your blood, high potassium. And the only problem with many tablets is a side effect. So they'll give you a tablet, it has one side effect, so they have to give you another one, and they try to find the right one that doesn't make your legs swell or your head swell. You've not be able to, there's a whole lot of stuff that could happen, right? I'm not shooting down medicine or tablets or whatever. I'm just saying that if there's a solution that you can control, better do that one first, right?
Well, I learned something shocking a few years ago, that doctors, when they're studying for their qualifications, they do a very minimal amount of study on nutrition.
Yeah.
And I can't remember because I was given the actual length of time they actually study nutrition, but it's minuscule. It's shocking. For people that are actual health practitioners. So it just demonstrates that we have to take the diet thing into our own hands to a significant degree.
The thing is, what we're going to try to do here, brothers and sisters, is give you a tangible step, right? So I'm going to literally give you physical things we can do.
Go ahead.
So we're talking about blood pressure. Buy a £20 blood pressure machine from the chemist or from a black business, right? And monitor yourself. If it goes above what the recommendation on the website says, the NHS, then you want to start thinking about how you're eating. You want to be having more fruits and veg, less processed food, less meats, and definitely less takeaway. Cans as well. Cans are great when it comes to storing food, and because you don't have to spend much money, but they put salt in the can to preserve it. And when you make a meal that's a collection of many cans, then it all adds up. It all adds up, and that's what it is. It's a collection of things.
Here's the problem.
Go ahead.
When you talk about practicality,
yes,
eating poorly is so much more efficient for a lot of people for daily sustenance than eating healthy, right? So like you talk about canned food, like it's easier to just buy a can than it is to soak your peas the night before.
You're right.
Right. So is there any way around that at the moment, or is it just like you have to be disciplined?
Do you want to change
are there any efficient ways, to put these disciplines into your life?
Here's what it is, right? We as a community, we tend to lower the benchmark. I get that, right?
Yeah.
And if I can give you the steps of what's better, right?
Yeah.
The best thing is to obviously grow your own food, which none of us can do, unfortunately, right? But when it comes to Caribbean food, you make your rice and your peas, your honey beans for the moi moi, this kind of thing, right? Or the black eyed peas for the moi moi, or sometimes the rice and peas. Straight away, if you can either get it frozen or get it hard, and you soak it the night before, yes. If you have to use a can, rinse it off.
Rinse it off.
Yeah, rinse it off, right? Definitely rinse it off. Also, when it comes to ease, sometimes figuring how food works. So I eat a raw carrot, raw celery, and raw fruits in the morning. Right. That's quicker than opening a can with a can opener, right? Yeah. But I eat. So I see that as medicine. I don't see it as food, because sometimes when we see things as food, we start thinking about specialities and taste and then decoration and all that kind of stuff, right? No, think of it as fuel and medicine. And when you do that, you will change, but you have to also train, drink water, and sleep well. I know it sounds hard, but when you get into routines, you can do it, innit, right?
I feel like a lot of it is changing how we, like you were just alluding to, how we understand and approach food.
Yeah.
Before anything else. Because I was one of my yoga teacher, basically, the man who certified me, said that he was in marketing, and he said one of his teachers, Laila Africa, said that big. You know, oftentimes we don't necessarily need more people in nutrition. We need more people in marketing.
Very true.
Because our attitude towards food is generally driven by emotion.
It is.
So we eat for taste rather than eat for nutrition.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a revolution that's needed in terms of how we see food.
What the brother said is key, right? Yeah. The Black Betterment broadcast, the show that me and a few brothers run, and Our Corner, we want to be part of that marketing campaign process. So by changing the mindset of how you perceive things, you'll be more likely to work towards a goal, right? And that's very key. very key. How we view things, that's actually very, very point there, very important.
Yeah, I agree. Just from personal, because off camera, I was asking Raven some questions in terms of engage in a sugar-free diet, because it's very difficult,
Yeah, so let's go on to that. Go.
Yeah, because in the sense of the fact that everything just has sugar in it. So I know a lot of people that went vegan.
Yes.
But they overdrank fruit juices.
Yeah, they were worse.
Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so their sugar intake was skyrocketing.
Yes.
Even though they cut out meat, they cut out dairy, and so on and so forth, because they got trapped in just buying fruit juices.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing them little things there as well. Like the fruit juices are very, very sugary.
The thing is, you got to think, right? Fruits naturally have sugar, right?
Yeah.
And that sugar is good. You can't extract.
Call it complex.
Yeah, right. Well, the challenges with 100% juices, smoothies, is you might have like 8 apples or 9 apples or 9 bananas in one thing that you consume. So you're getting all those sugar rushes at one time.
Oh, sorry.
Minus the fiber as well.
Check this though, because you're talking about juicing now. I was talking about like carton juices.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right?
that's even worse.
But no, yeah. But I'm saying I'm just highlighting. That's another level of the thing, because you can get caught up in that as well, just like juicing.
Yeah.
So let's speak. Yeah, delve into that a little bit more.
Well, let's go for like. So if we break down juices, let's break down the terms, right?
Yeah.
A smoothie is a raw fruits that you put, and apparently has to have banana in it to make this smoothie, apparently, right? And then you just grind it in a blender and you drink that, right? That's a smoothie. If something's called a juice, it has to be 100% of just fruits, and it's not from concentrate or concentrate.
Yeah.
They're both the same thing. One, they just remove the water and then bring it back, but they're both 100%. And then you have a juice drink where they replace, they put water and sugar in replace of a low amount of fruits that they put in the actual stuff to make up for it, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing that, right?
But don't both of them ones got more fiber than the other.
The fruit will have more fiber. You'll have more fiber. Yeah. Because that's natural. Like I said, most things you can OD on certain things. Smoothies are definitely better, but let's go through this to the thing.
Yeah.
The Cokes and that stuff. If you had to give up a drink, that's the first, right? It may be a cheeky one on a Sunday or once a month.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest one, because that especially in the hot weather, and you watch once again the marketing. People they see hotness with drinking a Coke, and a man doing that on the adverts, this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so that's the first one you want to get rid of. But I think here's what it is. Because it's a balance, it's all adding up. So the food you eat could also, like the junk food and stuff, that also has sugar in it. So if the junk food has sugar, the drinks have sugar, the takeaways have sugar when they add extra sugar in the curries and stuff, then once again, it's not the salt, it's the balance. So that's why I say, if you can get in the habit of making it, your wife or your partner making it, and just not adding this stuff in there, and once again, compensating with other things. If you want to get things sweeter, rather than putting whole chunks of sugar in there, put dates, beetroots, raisins, but then don't overdo it in them, but still, that is a more natural sugar. But it is a tricky one, because once again, we might be addicts without knowing we're addicts. You know what I mean? And the worst thing is something like cigarettes or any kind of drug on the street. When you're cutting from it, you don't have to take it anymore. But with food, you do. So it's like the thing that's killing us is also keeping us alive. Yeah? It's like you watch that McDonald's thing, Super Size Me, I think it's called, whatever. Yeah, where he tried to just eat McDonald's alone, and the doctors are telling him, no, you're going to kill yourself. And that's what will happen. And a lot of people, our diets are made up of these kind of junk foods, and we don't know it, because our bodies are very good at fighting things off. And it keeps doing it. It's just like blood pressure and bad food. It's your body's dying, fighting off. And one day it says, yeah, I can't do it anymore, I'm dead. That's what happens, right? So we want to give yourself a long path of strong defense so that doesn't happen. And it is those habits. And this is the thing is, diabetes and high blood pressure is a major thing in the black community. And it is connected to the way we train, the lack of training, or what we eat. So the thing is, we've got cultural dishes, or some dishes that we think are cultural, but we introduce. That's another topic. And I think what we want to be doing is, how can we redo that? So obviously some people go vegan, right? So if you, rather than making jerk chicken, you might make jerk oyster mushrooms or something like this, right? So it's that kind of thing. How do you change it? And then obviously...
I had a jerk jackfruit.
Yes.
A couple times. Mud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what you want to do. So you got to think, naturally with a lot of Caribbean, American and black communities, chicken is the staple what we go to, right? So it's finding that replacement. You say?
For the vampires among us.
Then there you go, right? So it's like, so it's like, okay, you've got aubergines, you've got mushrooms, and there's so many mushrooms, right?
Especially the oyster mushrooms.
Oyster mushrooms, the king oyster mushrooms, the portobello.
Well.
No, it's not. The season is 95% of everything. Yeah. Go to some non-black parties and have their chicken. You realize you don't like it, but you think we're the same chicken because it's the season they're doing, right? So if that's the key, then you know that applying those seasoning to your mushrooms, your jackfruits, your breadfruits, whatever you can get your hands on, is key, right? And convincing yourself that this is the replacement. Yeah. So have a replacement for beef. Have a replacement for chicken, have a replacement for lamb. Yeah, and if you want, we can give you those, right? So if you're making, what's the thing? Oxtail, right? Oxtail boils a lot. So you want something that doesn't dissolve. King oyster mushrooms doesn't dissolve. It takes long for it to dissolve, right? So use that. That's a good one.
Very expensive though.
Yeah.
You're rich, so that's not a problem.
But you say it's expensive, right? But when you think, how much is buying lamb and beef?
I hear you.
Like, that's expensive.
But it's reversing now.
Especially halal, bro.
I think vegetarian is reversing now, that it's becoming more costly than just meat itself.
You know what? Processed vegetarian costs more because they have to do all this processed preservative and making a imitated chicken.
Processed costs more than organic?
No, well, I'm saying well, you say organic, but let's break it down, right? How much is an apple? How much is an orange? How much is celery? How much is use those to make the thing? Yes, there we go, big man. We're good. Yeah, you use those. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So let's break down hamburgers. How much does it cost to have hamburgers? How much? You know, who eats meat? How much does it cost to buy a pack of hamburgers? I don't know. Let's say it's £3.99. Yeah, hamburgers that you buy in Tesco. These kind of.
It depends.
Well,
I go like when I usually go like Lidl with it, so sometimes it's like £5.99 for like £12.99.
okay, so there you go, right?
After £10.
Okay, £5 to £10, right? Now you can buy 3 or 4 fresh portobello mushrooms for £1. Yeah, and you can use that as your burger. Not that I'm saying you should be eating bread anyway, right? That's another thing, not eating bread. That's another. We'll get there, right? But yeah, you can use that as a replacement to your burgers. So you don't need to be spending that kind of money. Yeah? But yeah, so what we covered today? We've covered black health, blood pressure, diabetes, lowering your salt intake, lowering your sugar intake by controlling you making your food. And if you have any problems, put it in the comment section, and hopefully we will jump in and give you the best we can do. But let's take the quick thing. If you want to test your blood pressure, £20 in the chemist or a black-owned business, buy it from them. Test it. If you're gone past 120 on the meter, you want to start thinking of lowering your salt intake and jogging and sleeping, drinking water. They also get a blood test so they can test your diabetes. If you do that, they'll let you know, okay, you've gone past the threshold. As soon as you go, before you even get there, you want to lower putting sugar in things, right? Yeah, and definitely fizzy drinks, processed food, and all this kind of stuff. I know it's hard, but it's a journey, isn't it? And we might have to cover it every other week if it's becoming that problematic. Now, the brother's here. We're going to cover the next topic when he's ready. But should we carry on? Should we stop the tape? How do you want? I forgot how you did. Just
wait for him to come in. Topic number 1 done.
Yeah, topic number 1 done. We'll move on.
See us in the next.
Yeah, see us. All right. So yeah, that's the end of the black health. We're going to move into black partners and the dynamics between black women and women, and we're going to include manosphere philosophy and all that good stuff. So, boom. Ready?